So I'd next like to introduce our second team, Same Page. We have Mary Kate Zipprich, Joshua Harris, and Brendan Devney.
Hi, everyone. We're excited to be here today talking to you about Same Page. Same Page is a product that we've been working on that focuses on transitioning teens with complex care needs into adulthood. So for us, that meant taking a look at the problem of this vast number of children in the U.S. with chronic illnesses. And I think with 10 to 20 million children transitioning out of pediatric care into adult care, that leaves a lot of teenagers in a vulnerable spot where they are trying to go from an environment which is very supportive and usually very family-friendly to one that is much more independent. You have to be much more of your own advocate. So we wanted to take a look at this and figure out what we could do to improve it. Our goal is really to ensure that all teenagers with complex care needs develop the skills not only to manage their condition, but also gain the confidence that's needed to navigate the complex U.S. healthcare and health insurance systems, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. So we're not the only ones aware of this problem. In 2002, the leading pediatric associations issued a statement calling for better planning, better long-term planning with goals set for children as they transition out of pediatric care into adult care. So a decade later, they looped back and said, okay, let's see how we did. And in 2012, they did a survey and found out that they actually hadn't done very well at all. There wasn't a ton of improvement, and a lot of pediatric practices still weren't doing much to actually facilitate and help plan for transitions with their patients. So that's where we hope Same Page will come in. And JD is going to walk us through more of the information about how Same Page actually works.
Thanks, Mary Kate. Okay, so this is version 1.0 of Same Page, and I'm going to run you through some of the basic features that we've developed so far. So this is Sarah. This is her dashboard. And our major design philosophy with the dashboard so far was one of accessibility. So we want Sarah, her caregivers, and her providers all to be able to access her essential health information in one spot. So we have her conditions and therapies over on the right, her caregivers on the left, and then more information that's included in this central portrait region. And by hovering over any of the icons with the cursor, she can view more detailed information. So this is a very at-a-glance feature. Our second design philosophy with Same Page is to provide patients and caregivers with deliberate guidance throughout the transition process. And to do this, we're designing tools for education and planning so that when the time comes for Sarah to transition, she'll be fully prepared. So at the top here, we have Sarah's Task Manager, this field up here. And the Task Manager is where Sarah can access all of Same Page's original educational content, which will come in the form of videos, animations, and interactive questions. The educational content is all tailored towards Sarah's specific needs, whether it's related to her transition itself or to specific conditions she has, like diabetes and asthma. So for an example, Sarah clicks on the asthma tab at the top. She sees her specific asthma tasks, and she clicks on the watch tutorial video entitled Asthma and Its Symptoms. She watches it on our site, and when she's done, let's see if we go back. She's able to start logging her symptoms of shortness of breath and reducing her household allergens because now she knows more about them and she knows why they're important. Okay, Britton.
So just to give you an idea of where we're headed with this down the road, we want to take the information we're collecting from the timeline and put it into a personal record. So as you transition from one doctor to another, you can carry it with you along the way. We also want to incorporate social features into the site so you can interact with other patients going through similar experiences as you. And the last thing we're doing sort of to build out the educational content is we're partnering with various disease organizations in order to really bolster that content. And so that's our plan, and if you're interested in what we're doing, you can always connect with us at samepagetransition@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Same Page. So now I'd like to open it up to the patients and caregivers for questions.
I have a question for how will you make sure, like you showed a 7-year-old, but you will also have like a 3-year-old and you will have a 17-year-old. How will you have you figured out that you would have age-appropriate videos?
Right. So the pediatric consensus statement that from 2002 that Mary Kate mentioned indicated a lack of developmentally appropriate tools. So that is one thing that we're really focusing on with Same Page. The graphics that we had today were actually kind of filled out by our graphic designer, so he didn't realize that we're actually focusing on adolescents. So 12 to 14, depending on the complexity of the patient, is kind of the ideal time to start talking about transition and start planning. So we're really looking at an age group between 12 to 14 and 22 to 24 to target education to.
And I want to add one thing to that, which is that we also have sort of a portal for the parent, so not only for the patient, but the parent. So we imagine this kind of a gradual transition process where the parent would give access gradually and kind of be able to help facilitate that process of transition.
I think this is a well-designed product, but do you have any statistics or anything on any competitive products? Are there any competitive products?
So there are some similar products out there, but they're mostly, everything we've seen is really targeted at adults, and it's not really focused on transition. So I think we see a lot of things that sort of want you to learn your own healthcare and become more of an advocate, but there's very little that's actually focused on transitioning from the pediatric practices to adult practices, and we haven't seen anything that looks like it's actually an engaging tool. There's some great websites out there with information, but it's something that you would have to actively go search for and then read through.
What about the cost piece?
So we want this to be free for patients. I think that's a big thing is when we're starting out, we want this to be free for patients. I think we're still exploring some options for how to fund this, but we imagine partnering with some of these disease organizations and working with insurance companies or private companies who can offer this as a benefit to their employees, or can offer this as something to be a tool that is a benefit to the people that they serve.
Well, I always understood there was no free lunch. So who controls the data?
In terms of?
Well, all the information that's going to be input into this program, this package that this preteen or teen is going to take along with them into adulthood.
I think that's something we'll have to figure out. I know some websites, I mean, one option is to basically give the patient control, where if you want to contribute your information for research purposes or whatever it may be, then you can do that. I know sites like Patients Like Me kind of have that arrangement where information you put into the site is automatically, basically they have rights to it. I think we want to shy away from that a little bit and give a little bit more control to the patient so you have control there.
I wanted to give Bailey a chance. Did you have a question? So Bailey is our adolescent that's on the Shark Tank.
Is there a place to like track your meds and stuff like that on this?
Yeah, so that was something we didn't quite have built out in the screenshot there. The conditions would include, conditions, all therapies, and kind of be associated with the providers that are prescribing them, et cetera.
Also, how many hospitals are using this now?
0 hospitals are using this now. We are thinking about piloting it as a quality improvement initiative in specific clinics, so where we would build out Same Page in the direction of a specific condition and give full support for that condition and see how it performed. But that's in the future.
With your last explanation, am I to understand it'll be chronic condition specific? How many conditions will be going on the Same Page? Is it coming from the patient side, or is it coming from the chronic condition side?
The overarching sort of theme that we're really going for is managing some of these transition tasks. How do you do the things like scheduling appointments? How do you, what information do you need to be familiar with from your insurance company? Learning a little bit about copays and deductibles and what those mean. But then we're really trying to work with some of these disease organizations to target specific conditions and really build out content that would be appropriate based on, whatever it is that they cater to. We're really looking to them as the subject matter experts, and to patients as well as we go through this review process for what's most helpful for patients to track. Does that answer the question? Yes. Okay.